Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I decided the other day that I would spade one of my favorite types of vehicles in the game, the STRV 122s. I spaded the STRV 122A a long time ago, basically when the vehicle was incredibly meta and was incredibly powerful, and I thought, you know what, let's give the B plus a go. Let's see how it is with this extreme armor and then also other features, just to see how kind of it goes when it comes to the game. And to be honest, it went pretty well. It turns out the Leopard with extra armor is pretty good. It doesn't have as big of the gun as stuff like the 2A7, but it did get a new round that I wasn't used to, the SLPPRG M95, or the Slurpager, as I like to call it, which pens up to 340mm at 60 degrees, and this round did pretty well. Everything about it was alright. There was a few issues though, and this is more comparing it to what the STRV 122A used to be like back in the day. There is a few features nowadays that just kind of irk me at the highest echelon of the game and very much make it more RNG based compared to other stuff. So first of all, it's very obvious when it comes to the top of the game, one of the things that is kind of getting people to play specific nations is the fact that some nations have their updated damage models and other nations don't. So for example, the STRV 122B Plus has its turret basket modeled, so does the Abrams, so do all the Leopards, but stuff like the Type 90s, the Type 10s, and also a few of the other vehicles that you run into at high echelons do not have these things modeled, so such as the Macavers. So there is a inherent disadvantage using the ones with the updated models right now compared to the ones which do not have the updated models, and that just sucks. It shouldn't be like that. They should definitely try and get these updated models in as soon as possible, because it is one of the most infuriating things while playing the STRV 122B whenever you are penned. Basically, you lose that turret bustle, which means you have to repair it, which takes 20 to 30 seconds, even if you have a full crew. So it just knocks you out of the battle for that length of time, every single time. And what I would prefer is if it gets taken out, it maybe reduces your horizontal kind of speed instead of just absolutely nuking it. Kind of like how with if you take out kind of like the gunner's thing or whatever's attached to the gun, it doesn't mean that you can't fire. It means that you don't have a stabilizer anymore. Stuff like that, I think, like soft reductions is much better, because there's just too many times where people will just randomly pen you. You'll be completely out of action and you've done absolutely nothing wrong, and it's just very, very annoying to play that. Another thing is fuel tanks. Now, I've always been a person who hasn't really talked about the fuel tank topic. The basic reason is because it changes a lot, and it's one of those things which I don't really like going through, because it causes a lot of controversy and a lot of annoyance, for good reason, basically, because it's one of those things that is incredibly annoying when it happens. RNG in a game like War Thunder, in terms of how much damage you do when you penetrate, is a awful thing. You already have it a little bit with the crew, depending on the crew level. You know, it can be either really good or really bad, the amount of damage that you do, but the fuel tanks having a percentage ability to be able to basically remove spore from your rounds is one of the most asinine and annoying things I think a game has ever come up with in terms of doing damage to the enemies. What is the slap in the face as well is when you penetrate targets at the highest echelon of the game and you penetrate it through a fuel tank, half the time the vehicle would just explode, and the other half it won't even show you the damage that you've done to it, because the game knows that you don't want to see it, because you will just get annoyed. So guess what vehicles really benefit from this? Well, it turns out it's the Type 90s and the Type 10s, and also the Soviet vehicles. And guess what gets played quite a lot of the high tiers right now? These vehicles, because of the fact that they have just some silly setups which basically stop these rounds doing anything. So the Type 10s have this massive fuel tank on the side of it, and also a fuel tank in the low glacis. So does the Type 90, and it literally will just stop your spall of of your round, and since there's a lot of empty space in these vehicles, it means that you just don't do any damage to them. It's incredibly annoying, and we all know the Soviet fuel tanks in the front of their vehicles, basically where you're supposed to shoot on them and where you shoot normally, and guess what, half the time they explode and half the time, you know, they die, and then the other half the time basically all you do is take out the autoloader and don't do anything else, and that's it, and then you just die anyway. It is obnoxiously annoying to play and basically do everything right and then get punished for it. So these changes that they've made to the highest echelon of the game where this happens is really, really bloody annoying. Now, the 122B Plus is a great vehicle. You know, there's a reason why they haven't they've buffed every single vehicle of this BR apart from the Leopards. The Leopard 2s, such as the 2A7, the 122B Plus, they haven't got reduced reloads. They haven't, you know, got reduced anything. They are just fantastic vehicles. And the 122B Plus is no different. It has all the things you would want. It has a very strong turret. It's also at the same time, once you get the mobility upgrades, it's pretty quick around the place. It has great targeting speed. It has the spore liner to be able to keep it going. Its round is it penetrates enough to be able to do what you need it to, and all of its other subsystems are great. If it had an LWS, this would be the perfect MBT, but it was very hard to enjoy this vehicle because of the fact that a lot of the time while playing it, you would get these silly interactions, which basically meant that you didn't kill targets that you should have killed, and then they end up killing you afterwards. And I'm sure the same thing happened to me a few times, but definitely not as many as the enemies, because guess what? You have these turret bustles, which means whenever you get hit in vehicles like this, you are basically knocked out of action before you can fire back, and it just makes it incredibly frustrating. So even though this vehicle is really good, the mobility is great, the firepower is great, the armor is great, everything's great about it. It also has some nice smoke grenades. It has 4 sets of them, which works very well. I just really wish that they would have a think about how fuel tanks interact with stuff, and also hurry up when it comes to the kind of updated damage models. Because playing a vehicle that has the updated model against vehicles that don't have the updated model is just an absolute pain. We also had a horrific first day playing the 122B Plus. We had like a 40% win rate, and also at the same time we were just getting run over by Russian vehicles because I was using the DM23 and 33, and they just don't pen enough to be able to get through, once again, the fuel tanks, and once again just the extra stuff that is in those vehicles. But once we got the Leopard, it all started making sense. In the 122B Plus, we went 87 battles to spade it, 57% win rate after basically 40 battles of 40%, so we really brought it back in a big way. We ended up 186 ground kills to 68 deaths, so nearly a 3-to-1 KD, and that was also supported by the 122A, where we went a classic 2-to-1 with. The vehicle's great, it's really fun to play, but there are just too many frustrating times at top tier which mire the experience. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.